Hey everyone, I'm Alli Dahl from the Disrupt Education podcast.
And I'm Peter Hostrawser. The workforce is changing, but education isn't.
If students are going to thrive, they'll need to create their own opportunities like the students on this series.
To do that, they need skills. Not the I memorized who the Renaissance painters were skills, or I've read the Canterbury Tales skills. We're talking about the pragmatic skills that get you a job or let you do your own thing.
There's only one way to acquire these skills, and it ain't lectures, textbooks, or tests.
That's where Pegasus comes in. Pegasus is creating the first white-collar trade school.
Superior to college in every way, Pegasus is a career-focused, experiential program that enables high school grads to start lucrative careers 3 years earlier and 100K ahead of college grads, and can be job ready from the moment they graduate.
Pegasus has also opened doors to recent college graduates who can't find jobs and acts as a career bridge that leads from a hopeless situation to a bright future.
And employers? They get the first ever AI native entry-level workforce that comes fully job ready. No more training, no more lost year productivity, just instant lift with no company resources required.
So if you're a student or an employer, go to pegasus.com and let Pegasus change your life forever. Now sit back, relax, and let's enjoy the student series on the Disrupt Education podcast.
Quite literally, what we did was we Googled wealthiest people in Evansville, Indiana, found a database of all of their emails, and just blasted cold emails at them saying, hey, we would love an investment as a community project. Everybody said no.
Bet on AI as it was becoming popular. You were like, young people are going to use this when millennials, Gen Xers, boomers, they all were like, stay away from AI. You're like, no, I'm doubling down on this with Intertwine because that's the future, and it's obviously working.
We went through a couple of competitions, notably with the Startup Foundation, where we went through, at the time it was called their Innovate Within Challenge, and we were able to make it to the state finals in the state of Indiana. And while we didn't win state, we realized quickly through the competition, we actually have an idea, a solution that is viable in the current market.
We often ask students what do they want to become, but I think the better question, which we kind of said at the beginning of this whole series, Alli, is what problem are you willing to dedicate yourself to solving? Because that's really where purpose turns into impact, and where, well, Kerry, you stop waiting and you start creating it.
You're listening to the Disrupt Education podcast, powered by U Science. Here are your hosts, Peter Hostrawser and Alli Dahl.
Welcome to this episode of the Disrupt Education podcast. I am Peter Hostrawser. That is Alli Dahl. And it's at the time of this recording, Alli, it's still hot outside. So how you doing?
I'm good. This is our summer series, so it'll probably still be hot outside when this episode comes out. And, we absolutely love having students, young people on the podcast. We do it every summer. So if you haven't, if this is like your first episode and you didn't catch the other students, like Kerry's our guest, kind of giving it away here.
Yeah, you just gave it away. That's cool, though.
Be with us here in just a minute. But it's like, this is the heart of the podcast. If you want to know how to disrupt education, you have to hear from people who are the most recent, like, people spending time in the system, because they just have the freshest perspectives. And this summer series is unlike anyone that we've ever done before, and these are students that are just rocking our socks off, and so this is going to be no exception, and I'm very excited to dive into this week's conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is we've talked about it a lot on the podcast about the narrative, the traditional narrative: get good grades, go to college, find a job, but what happens when a student decides not to wait for somebody else to solve a problem for them? What happens when they become the person that starts building the solution. And that's why I'm very excited about today's guest. He didn't wait until after graduation to make an impact. We have Kerry Ao here with us. And while still in high school, Kerry looked at a problem affecting millions of students. I hear this all the time as a business educator, financial literacy. And instead of asking someone, why isn't anybody fixing this? He basically came up with the solution, and that decision became Intertwined. And I'll let you kind of introduce from there, Kerry. How are you?
Yeah, doing well. Appreciate you, Peter, as well as Allie, for having me on today. Happy to share more about the personal story as well as the intertwined story. So, yeah, we're all about using AI to gamify financial education, make it engaging and accessible for students of all backgrounds. And I'm just happy to share what we're building here.
Yeah, I love that. There's evidently more than 50,000 students across 230 plus school districts in 33 states. You're almost there. You've been recognized at Forbes 30 under 30. Obviously, have spoken on national and international stages. This is what I love, Allie, when we have a guest who's done some amazing things because they didn't wait. Can we start with like kind of your history of education? Like what was it like? Where he's at Indiana University, folks. So Hoosiers right here. That's me back in the day. Took a few classes. Did not graduate from Indiana University, but big fan. And yeah, just want to walk us through that. A little bit of what was your educational path like, and how did you get to this point?
Yeah. Happy to share. So, yep, as you mentioned, I'm at IU. So, go Hoosiers. We are going back to back in the national championship this year. So, I'm going to put that out there, put a bet on it. But no. Yeah, went through. I grew up near Evansville, down in the southwest corner of Indiana. So I went to the public school system, and then in high school, I ended up attending a charter school called Signature School. I don't exactly know what their ranking is nowadays, but they're always in that top five, top 10 range by U.S. News and World Report. So primarily for their advanced placement and international baccalaureate program. So through Signature School, I was able to earn a ton of college credits, and through that, as well as building Intertwine, received a full ride merit scholarship to IU, the Kelly Scholarship for the Kelly School of Business, and so I am at IU, Kelly, studying finance and international business with a minor in political science, and yeah, we'll be graduating next spring, so I'm a rising senior.
Let's rewind then before the Forbes, before investors, before Intertwined and all that. Who like in that high school, you're in this amazing opportunity with a highly ranking high school. What kind of student were you?
Well, as I'll try not to be too stereotypical, but I am the son of Asian immigrants. So academics was very much top of mind for sure. And so obviously AP, IB classes was very academically inclined, but those were your typical STEM classes, your typical liberal arts classes. And I've always been interested in business. I love to learn about investing, about entrepreneurship in general, just reading articles, whether that was from Forbes or Bloomberg or TechCrunch articles back in the day. And that stuff excited me. And that was a time when there was a lot of new technical innovations with phones and computers. And so that really got me drawn into our school's business club, and through there, learning from upperclassmen about what it was like to have an entrepreneurial mindset, looking into different competitions. And that's what first got me truly engaged in the business world and network, was through our extracurricular activities at our school.
That sounds very common, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so I was an academic. I joined some clubs. I learned from upperclassmen, but like you're leaving out the part that like then most students don't do, which is like get a platform and then found a business in high school. So
Mhm.
like how take us back to how that developed, because that's where your story is different, and
Mm.
with you being in college and building a business that serves over 50,000 students right now. So how do we get to that point?
If I'm being completely honest and transparent, that was never the original plan. It just honestly sort of happened. Again, as I mentioned, I was very much academic first and focused. But during my sophomore and junior year of high school, me and my friends decided to start Intertwine, really tackling the issue of financial illiteracy and providing a turnkey educational platform for schools. So we did some pitch competitions. We were very much mission aligned. We loved the social impact portion of what we were pitching, and we went through a couple of competitions, notably with the Startup Foundation, where we went through, at the time it was called their Innovate Within Challenge, and we were able to make it to the state finals in the state of Indiana. And while we didn't win state, we realized quickly through the competition, oh, we actually have an idea, a solution that is viable in the current market. And so we decided to go out and raise. So this would have been, I believe, the summer of 2022. At the time, this was before Claude Code, before we had any AI vibe coding. So we did need to raise funding to build out the MVP. So quite literally, what we did was we Googled wealthiest people in Evansville, Indiana, found the database of all of their emails and just blasted cold emails at them saying, hey, we would love an investment as a community project. Everybody said no. I believe we only had maybe 3 people took meetings with us, and 2 of the 3 said no immediately during the meeting, and one of them said no, but I like what you're doing. And so this was roughly late June 2022. So by late July, we were like, okay, this was a good high school project. It's not really going to go much further until we got a call from actually one of my current still investors and one of my most active board members saying, hey, I talked with one of my friends in private equity that invests in education. We really think that you're onto something, and we would like to be your first true investment. So we got that investment. We called it a friends and family round. I think we totaled around $36,000 the summer of 2022, heading into my senior year of high school. And yeah, we never looked back. Once we brought on investors, we knew like we obviously want to deliver a great platform and a great solution out there for our teachers and our schools. But people trusted us with their money, and we wanted to be able to return that capital back to them too. So we just kept going from there. And then, yeah, that was 2022. In the summer of 2024, we raised a 400,000 pre-seed round, and currently we're raising a 1.5 million seed round. So things just kept getting more serious, and the ball kept rolling.
This is why I like entrepreneurship programs. I mean, Don Wettrick runs an amazing program over there in Indiana. Obviously, I'm in Illinois, so I have to say over there now. And we see this always with uncharted learning and different things like that, where, entrepreneurs really notice problems that a lot of people either have accepted or they see it differently. Within your mission, why financial literacy is not really the first thing that comes to mind when I work with high school students in entrepreneurship and or business education.
Well, there definitely is a personal aspect to it. So my parents are immigrants from China, came here with literally nothing. Combined, I believe in the first few years that they were living here in the US, they were right above the poverty line, or what was considered to be the poverty line. So I grew up at first as a child under those conditions. And so for quite a while, my parents actually had to send me back to China to live with my family abroad while they were able to save up and raise me here in the US. And so it's through that experience. Now they've worked their way up the corporate ladder, right? So they're doing well for themselves now. They really instill personal finance and responsibility into me as a kid. So during high school, I had to pay for my own phone bill. Anything I wanted, I had to pay for. Clothes, I had to pay for my own clothes. So really instilling that personal financial responsibility. And by the time, again, in high school, my friends and I, we were in the business club. We were teaching our fellow students, our fellow friends, how to invest in the stock market. And we quickly realized that PowerPoints were not cutting it. It just was not engaging enough. And we did a competition through the Wharton School of Business over at the University of Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And we found that that was truly engaging. But we still identified key problems or areas where there were improvement throughout that experience, which is what led to Intertwine and its iteration to today as an AI simulation first financial education platform. So truly immersing students in these real world financial scenarios by gamifying that learning experience. So it's kind of the whole well-rounded story there.
This episode of the Disrupt Education podcast is brought to you by UScience BrightPath, the next generation platform helping students make personalized decisions as they move from education to career.
If we truly want students prepared for life after high school, we can't rely on outdated, interest-only guidance to navigate a dynamic career future. UScience starts with aptitude discovery, helping students build a deeper understanding of who they are and how they're wired to succeed. From there, students create plans, develop in-demand skills, validate them through industry-recognized certifications, and connect directly with employers.
The result? Intentional pathways with real opportunity.
UScience is the only platform bringing all of this together at scale, which is why we at Disrupt Education Podcast are proud to partner with them.
Learn more at uscience.com/disrupteducation-podcast. Request a demo and let them know you heard about UScience right here. We underestimate, Alli, what young people can do, and your lens on this has such a different lens than, somebody quote unquote old, maybe me, doing something like this and communicating with young people about financial literacy. Oh, you better save, you better do it's so different. So I love that. I love that aspect of it, Kerry.
He also, you bet on AI as it was becoming popular. You were like, young people are going to use this when millennials, Gen Xers, boomers, they all were like, stay away from AI. I like reading about that story. You're like, no, I'm doubling down on this with Intertwine because that's the future, and it's obviously working for the platform. I'm curious, as you're building this though, right? So is it ever in the back of your mind and that I'm too young to solve this? No one's gonna believe that I'm going to take me seriously. You obviously got a bunch of no's, but then you did you've gotten a bunch of funding, but how do you use your youth as an advantage?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So unfortunately, I am not as adorable as I used to be when I was 15 or 16 years old. So I can't put on that charm anymore with the braces and everything. So unfortunately, that's long in the past. But no, absolutely. As a student, it can sometimes be very difficult to gain that trust from our teachers. I remember my senior year of high school. We were sending out cold emails to teachers saying, hey, we would love for you to try out Intertwine. At the time, it was one of our MVP pilots, truly a very, very simple platform. Lord knows I would never publish that today. But I remember getting this really angry email from a teacher, it's somewhere on my LinkedIn actually, saying how inexperienced the team was, how unprofessional our website was. And it served as a reminder that for all the supporters you're going to have, of course, you're going to have people that aren't necessarily in your corner, but feedback is feedback, even the most negative ones, even the ones that I might perceive as angry. So we took that feedback and we used it to dramatically improve the platform. And so at the time, we used to call ourselves a platform for students by students, not particularly realizing or being really naive into what teachers truly wanted out of the platform. So the first year or two was a big learning curve for us into bringing more teachers onto our team, as well as teachers advising the curriculum and the platform. So that way, understanding how the market worked. And so it was truly an effort to learn the market through iterating, through feedback, through constant improvements as to where we got today. Now we got teachers, I believe 9 out of 10 teachers recommend Intertwine to a colleague. 4 out of 5 said that they save time with Intertwine, and we've been able to expand quickly via word of mouth. And for all the recognitions and awards we have, the word of mouth of teachers is truly that big validation or that stamp of approval for us, because if they're going to recommend Intertwine to another teacher, it's their word that they're putting on us. So we really appreciate our teachers. We do love our teachers, and we want to continuously build something that they want and love in their classrooms.
And I love that. We hear that a lot, the people on the ground working with things and understanding and listening to and you were in a classroom when this whole thing started, so there's a lot of learning there. I also love the mindset that you have of, yeah, maybe this person is being harsh on us, or just kind of just being arrogant or whatever it is, but really looking past that into the feedback that comes along with that. That is extremely ingenious. I mean, that's at an age of where most people around your age will be like, yeah, whatever, that's awesome. What I wanted to dig into a little bit is like, many students are trying to figure out what they wanted to do, and you were already building, but you also had a team there, from what I understand. So how did that taking the action and then honestly building a team shape your direction? Because you're not all the same, probably personalities, you don't have all the same motivations. How did that evolve?
Yep. So in true Gen Z fashion, we are a remote first team. So we do have contractors and employees all across the country. And so Slack and Zoom are our go-to channels. But as far as our team, at the very beginning, it was always investor driven. So having my board of directors, they were the ones recommending people to bring onto the team. And I leaned heavily on their expertise and insights as a 17, 18-year-old. I say this as a 20-year-old right now. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. But as we continue to grow, we realized, oh, we needed a chief technology officer. Well, one of our investors worked with one who was a former CIO over at One Main Financial. So someone in financial industries, bringing them onto our team, we were able to bring on software engineers. Who do we look to? IU alumni. We also looked within our investor network for any of their recommendations there. So we did bring on team members that way, as well as through conferences. Whenever we would do demos at our booths, interested, whether we weren't purposefully trying to poach anyone from the other booths, but we'd have people come up, hand us their contact information, and we'd always chat a little further. So that's how we've truly grown our team, but mostly organically. We have put out flyers out there on the LinkedIn and Indeed. But for us, trust and reliability are huge for us. So building the team, there has been some growing pains for sure. Not always the easiest thing to have a CTO that's about more than double my age, and me technically being his boss. But it's been a rewarding journey, and we learned a lot about leadership and management through trial and error, and I wouldn't have done it any other way.
I have to go here because I figured there were people on your team that were older than you, that you are their boss. So it's like, I gotta know, being a 17, 18-year-old, even 20-year-old, what has been like kind of the hardest part of leading people older than you?
Honestly, if anything, that's not particularly an issue because those that are older than me that signed on to the team knew what they were signing on for. That they would have to listen to someone in their 20s and who couldn't legally drink yet. And so they knew what they were signing up for. I don't actually think the age was particularly different. Maybe some slang that I use whenever I'm doing a Slack message. I know that that's had some barriers in the past informally. But if anything, for me, it's just been truly the lack of experience as a leader in an organization, learning as I go. So I've definitely made my mistakes there as a leader and as a leader of a company. But again, it's definitely a learning experience. I've made mistakes, but it's always about learning and iterating and improving the processes there.
I love that, because as soon as you started mentioning those, I'm like, yeah, I've been on Slacks, I've been on Discords, and even some crazy stuff that is it's not really out there, but you get some Gen Zers in on there, and you're like, what? You have to figure it out. I get a little bit like I start feeling it, so I totally get that. But you know what? I mean, as an educator and somebody who works along with different generations, I appreciate that, and I think it's really cool because different generations bring different values and different knowledge that I'm allowed to learn. When I'm sitting with my buddies on a weekend, it really doesn't always transcribe that well, because they're like, "What are you talking about? What's a Slack?" But I like that. So, all right. So we're at Indiana University. I won't ask about Mark Cuban yet, but you know, are you bored? I mean, like you're going through these courses and you've obviously failed at a lot of things to get where you are today. That's how you build businesses, right? So, I mean, what have you learned about failure that school just hasn't taught you or couldn't teach you?
I think I might have a hot take about entrepreneurship degrees. I think they're kind of pointless because if the whole point is that you get a 4.0 in entrepreneurship, I don't really think that really carries much value because that means that you just didn't never made a mistake and that you got somehow a perfect score, right? Well, that's not how the real world works and how entrepreneurship works. So for me, I knew that I wanted to specialize in something related to business. For me, that meant finance. Not just the fact that I teach personal financial education through Intertwine, but knowing the books, accounting, the finances, as a founder, needing to know fundraising and the term sheets that go along with it. So having a finance concentration has been incredibly powerful. So taking what I learned in the classroom and applying it to Intertwine, as well as taking what I've learned from Intertwine and applying it in my coursework as well. So there's always some sort of cross relation between what I've learned and what I've experienced in both avenues for sure.
That's Mark Cuban is obviously an Indiana University. Is he a grad? He's a grad, I believe, right?
Right.
And so I've heard him actually say that. So I say it all the time to students, Allie, about like if you're going to school as an entrepreneur, I totally agree with you there, Kerry. Like, don't go into entrepreneurship. You can learn that by doing it. If you
Mhm.
want to learn the numbers and the systems that are in place, the taxes, all these different things, then get a finance degree or an accounting degree. And I've actually heard Mark Cuban say that on several different things. So there you go. Is he an investor? Can you say no?
Not yet. Knock
Not
on wood
yet. I love
that
it.
he will for the seed round. I emailed him 2 years ago from a pre-seed. He said in 5 words back to me, "No, thank you. Period. Good luck!" Exclamation mark. So
Well, that's
once I get
five
this
more than he
lead,
sent me, Kerry.
so we'll see if he responds to my email this summer.
Got it. Got it.
Ooh, wow. Just the fact that you've gotten a response, and I will say we've certainly never had a 20-year-old on the podcast doing the things that you're doing at your age. And so thank you, Don Wettrick. So for everyone who doesn't know, Don Wettrick, he kicked off 2024 for us,
Mhm.
episode 312. Um, if you haven't heard that episode, it ages really well. He has an amazing foundation, Start Ed Up. It's all over Indiana and other states as well, but like that's where it started. And yeah, I'm curious. You are familiar with Start Ed Up. What was your kind of experience with that? And have you met Don?
Mhm.
Of course, I've seen Matt Dawn. I actually saw him actually 3 days ago on Friday. I went to Indy for a quick business trip there, so it's always good to catch up with Don and hearing what's up with the Started Up Foundation. Yeah, I they were actually my first ever entrepreneurship competition. I had done a few before Innovate Within came onto my radar. At the time, that would have been around 2020, 2021. So for Started Up, I know that they were still in their earlier stages running the pitch competition. So first competed in the 2021, spring of 2021, I believe. So we made it to regional finals, did not advance the state. And then my junior year in the spring of 2022, we did advance the state and just didn't win. But through that experience, I actually received a level or degree of entrepreneurship education, what it meant to build a true pitch deck, how to quote unquote twist the knife into your judges and make them feel that problem that you are enunciating on stage or in your pitch video. How do you identify your key market? How do you calculate everything? And these are things that previously I had just been Googling and learning off of articles. I mean, I couldn't chat GPT, I couldn't Claude it before. So it was great to have a formal curriculum for me to go through to learn everything. And through the judging process and through the way that Startup provides mentors, we were able to constantly bounce questions off of industry experts. We were able to continue to iterate our entire pitch and just truly improve as students, as entrepreneurs, and as people. And I think that that's a very underrated aspect startup's mission is developing people as a human and humanizing the people behind building great companies and great ideas.
I'm going to bounce between there because you did mention AI and the human aspect of it. And, as an educator in the public school system, AI is the hottest topic. We're talking all over the place about it. They hear AI and immediately think technology. But what we've learned about you and Intertwined is you're using the newness of AI as you're building and basically what I heard you say is like you're almost like pre-chat Claude and post-chat Claude in your conversation. So besides, how you use AI with Intertwine, and we'll talk a little bit more about the simulator in a minute, but what role do you think like AI should play in education from here on out as we're in the post-AI kind of world?
Yeah, yeah. I'm a firm believer in education needs a human. It needs that humanized element where a teacher can relate to a student and vice versa, that a student can relate to a teacher. I think it's very, very important to have that personal connection with who you're learning from because that shapes how you learn, how motivated you are to learn. And that's just a core belief that I have in education. As much as I am a fan of education technology, I don't think anyone or anything can ever replace a physical teacher building that relationship with the student. That's just a personal core belief of mine. With that said, I do believe that AI can truly enhance that relationship as a tool and never replace it. So for Intertwine, our core belief is we want to empower teachers with as many resources as possible within the Intertwine platform, making financial education engaging, gamified, and accessible for everyone. So we provide lesson plans, worksheets, case studies, pacing guides, quite literally anything that a teacher might need to lead a personal finance or business class for free. We operate on a freemium tier. So we offer a ton of curriculum and paper resources for free, knowing current public school budget constraints. And then from there, we do offer simulations and our paying tiers. So we want to be there for our teachers. We ran a promotion last year called Stronger Together because we wanted to stand with our teachers by reducing costs as much as possible, by lowering barriers and eliminating them if possible. So we're there with their teachers. They're truly the rock of what we're building on, and really everything that we've built has been to help empower our teachers.
I have to say, so if you probably know this, being in the space that you're in, but Minnesota this year, this school year, so like right as this episode is coming out, is every high school graduate has to have personal finance. Like, I mean, when I taught in Missouri, that had already been the case for a long time. But this year, so like seniors, if they haven't had personal finance, have to take it and pass it in order to graduate. And there is a high need for people to teach personal finance this year in Minnesota, greater than there has ever been. And I'm certain there's people who have never taught it that are going to be like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. So this sounds amazing for like if I was charged with teaching personal finance this year, I was a chemistry teacher, so I don't know how that would happen, but you never know. I would want something like this. And so I'm definitely going to share with the school districts that I am in and sub for, making sure some of those teachers know, but we can make sure to like get the word out for you, Kerry.
Appreciate that.
I think, well, I didn't even, it's like we learn so much from our guests, our listeners learn so much from our guests. And I am hoping that people listening right now, like check out Intertwined. I just think it could help so many educators, especially with an area that is so needed. And so you have a new product, the economy simulator. I was reading about it and I was like, okay, so you can probably share about it more, but it puts an entire classroom inside one economy instead of one student learning alone. So curious, like explain that a little bit and then like kind of what inspired that shift, because that's a shift in technology and teaching and everything. Curious about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, I greatly appreciate it. We do offer that free tier for a reason, is we want to help our teachers meet all of these new mandates whether the mandates are funded or not funded. At the core, we want to make sure that teachers have the resources that they need. And so we're just offering, again, this curriculum, the lesson plans, pacing guides, etc., completely for free. Um, as far as the economy simulator goes, so this goes back to AI and education. We're seeing a trend that AI has led to, especially in edtech, has led to a lot of individualized personalization. So here's a broad mandate or broad learning outcome, and then it somehow delivers a personalized learning path for every single student. In theory, that is great. That means that the student can get their individualized learning goals and learn in their own way. But we've also discovered that it can feel isolating. And it means that one student, while very true, is learning different from another student, and perhaps that works out best, it loses that inner classroom connectivity or the interaction between students, right? So instead of a teacher leading a classroom activity, now they're doing these AI personalized learning paths, and then that all gets reported to the teacher separately. So losing that, as I mentioned earlier, how important I believe that personal relationship between the teacher and the student, I believe also extends out within students within a classroom as well. And so for the economy simulator, we're taking that a step further because we do offer our own individual simulations like our stock market simulator, our budgeting simulator, and our startup simulator. The economy simulator is truly that next step forward, is taking all the students in a classroom into their own economy. And that way everyone is interacting with personal finance, with business, with entrepreneurship in one classroom economy. So some students might be the Fed. They're monitoring interest rates. Some students might be running their own business, offering different services or products to their other classmates. Some might be a renter or a landowner, or perhaps they own property. So students are constantly interacting with each other and within their own classroom economy, and a teacher can regulate and monitor the entire classroom as well. But that truly encourages students to interact with each other. They're offering each other deals. There might be some corruption within that particular classroom economy of a student offering, say, for example, a product at a much discounted rate to their friend compared to the rest of the classroom. But we're truly simulating an economy and prioritizing the inter-student interactivity there. So bringing back or using AI to bring back that personalization or truly relationships while continuing to personalize their education and learning process.
I love that combination. It's actually absolutely brilliant. I'm having like nightmares about when I used to teach financial literacy and you had to set up the actual Monopoly boards everywhere and the time it took and those things. But I really love the fact that, hey, you know what? There are going to be problems. There are going to be maybe a little bit of fraud or whatever happening. But guess what happens in the professional world, or maybe lack thereof professional world? So I appreciate that. I think this is absolutely, Allie, cutting edge of AI and using it to where you can expose and see and learn within a classroom community. That is amazing, Kerry. I mean, that right there, that's a stunner for me just to kind of think about that in my own classrooms, and I'm super excited about that. In seeing those things happen, because I do think we've accidentally made learning too individual and really kind of made it to where students are isolated. And you see it all the time in a classroom. I'm sure you probably maybe even felt that way in a classroom, or even, saw some friends or colleagues in a classroom where you're like, why is this person not like, interacting? And this is a brilliant way to do it. Wow. Beyond the startup, this really always isn't about entrepreneurship. It hasn't been. Actually, it's about impact. And you've had a mission behind this. And one thing that kind of stands out in our conversations here are that, you have not mentioned becoming successful. And I think a lot of our listeners would be like, wow, this is an extremely successful person. You're constantly talking about expanding opportunity. Where does that mindset come from, man?
Yeah. If anything, it's Well, one, like growing up, the way that I did, recognizing that not everyone is extended the same opportunity, and so how can we best level the playing field so that way everyone can have those opportunities? And then whether or not those opportunities are taken advantage of, that's a different question. But making sure that we're providing Intertwine to as many teachers and as many students as we possibly can. And truly, for us at our core, we are an impact-driven organization. Um, we we recognize quite heavily that our success really is in how we can truly engage students and teachers at a level not seen before in financial education, as well as delivering the outcome. So we're starting to see states offer standardized assessments for personal financial education. So similar to a science class or a math class, well, now personal finance is one of those standardized assessments, and I believe three states, Virginia, Indiana, and Utah. And so for us, one, we offer to meet the mandate with that free tier, but also for delivering and mastering the outcome. So for Intertwine, what I believe our success is that students, after using our simulations, achieve an 84.3% mastery rate. An
Wow.
84.3%. The industry benchmark from Next Gen Personal Finance, one of the most well-respected, well-known nonprofits in the industry, their mastery rate is a 69.3%.
Wow.
We are a full 15 points ahead of them as far as student comprehension and mastery. So for us, that is our signals of success, that we are taking a different approach to financial education with our AI simulation first approach. And because of that, we are helping students learn financial education at a pace not seen before, in a different way, in a truly effective and engaging way.
I just can't even believe that I'm talking to someone who's 20 years old that is so mission driven. It's coming across in every answer. And that's just not that's a Gen Z like thing for sure. Like the to have that impact first. And I hope everyone listening here is like, this is a cool way to live life, to build a business, to everything. But like besides the mindset, like I'm really curious, like how do you stay focused
Hmm.
on mission while also running a business and being in college? You're a student.
Got a lot going
How do
on.
you do it?
Well, the GPA is a little questionable, I will admit. At this point, I've got 1 year left until I'm graduating. I'm 21 right now. So I'm just kind of I'm riding that coaster to the end, and I want to get my degree. That's been a big point of mine. The opportunity to graduate debt free, it's just one I couldn't pass up. So for me, I'm not one of those people that say, "Hey, if you want to pursue a startup, you should drop out." I believe that it's different for everyone, and for me, I wanted to stay in school. So the balancing act is definitely something. Um, One resource that I did not utilize until probably was too late, therapy, very helpful. Having an executive coach is also very helpful, and truly learning that what you're experiencing or what I was experiencing as a student entrepreneur is really different than what my friends are experiencing recruiting for this corporate jobs. And that I essentially have two full-time jobs. I'm working more than 80 to 100 hours a week on both Intertwined and my schoolwork. And so it's quite a lot. I like to call my motivation like the business cycle, where we have our ups and there are definitely some lows. But the best way I get myself out of those lows is just reading about our own impact and reading our case studies and saying and realizing this is not for nothing. We are truly helping our students, a lot of them in underserved and underprivileged communities, a lot in Title I schools, and that we do create an impact and we have these amazing stories. And the fact that I, as a 21-year-old in Bloomington, Indiana, can do that, I'm I blow my own mind away, and that's what gets me back up to those highs and continue to motivate myself truly through the mission and being passionate about the impact.
I think that's so cool about the generation. And also with that, I think that we as educators who might be millennials, possibly Gen X are here, and you know, the elders, We have a lot to learn about that. I think it's a different way to communicate and to open up discussions with younger and younger generations, Gen Alpha, et cetera. I think that's amazing, and I just want to celebrate you and celebrate that because that is man, it's just something that you can do and you can start to build. You reflected there a little bit, going back to a younger Kerry in school, and you know a lot of students here that we have students and parents of students listening to this as well, and they're like, yeah, that's great, but I don't think I could ever build a company. You know, what kind of advice would you tell them? What would you tell yourself when you were
Yeah.
16 if you could go back?
Oh man, I would well, one, probably start executive coaching and therapy a lot sooner. That having the right mindset, I think helps a lot. And again, understanding that as a student entrepreneur, what you're doing is so much different than what other students are facing. And
Mhm.
there really is, you can't really relate to the normal student experience. Um, but secondly, that everything always works out. That you just got to always continue to work hard, push yourself forward, and with a little bit of luck, like I did with my very first set of investors, I believe that is the key to success and truly being focused and passionate about the mission or the impact that your company is making, and that you do have that true love for what you're building on. If you're not passionate about it, then why do you want it to succeed, right? So be passionate about what you're building and yeah, just truly be in love with the work. Because so I know there's always a lot of big tech stories or stories about these AI startups raising at these insane valuations incredibly quick. That is a very, very small percentage of the population. And to be that tiny fraction of founders takes excessive work and recognize that not everyone is going to be on that path. So it's okay that it'll take time. It's okay that you're not going to find that immediate success or have your first customer, excuse me, on the second day that you're out out in the market. So take the time, recognize that everybody's different, and again, just be passionate about what you're building.
So our year is focused around the word bold and being bold in education and how do you disrupt education by being bold and everything. Your whole story is bold and in an amazing way, Kerry. So if you could think of like what maybe has been the boldest decision that you've made that changed like your perspective or changed something in your path.
Yeah, I'd probably go back to spring 2025. We expected 2025 to be our breakout year. And as you are quite familiar, and probably most of the audience, K-12 is very cyclical in its sales cycle. So that March to May window is our golden opportunity to get contracts completed before the upcoming school year. And so we had gone into the spring with this amazing pipeline of schools, and we were incredibly excited about converting them into paying contracts. And then we quickly discovered a lot of funding cuts happening at the federal and the state level. So the state level, for example, Indiana significantly reduced public K-12 spending. At the federal level, we saw those federal dollars like the post-COVID, the I believe ESSER funding. They had reduced that funding. There were also challenges to IDEA funding as well. And so with all of these funding sources in flux, we now all of a sudden had our pipeline collapse with districts saying, we're not actually sure we're going to get this funding or not. So for now, we're going to hold off on any decisions. And we quickly realized that, oh, we were going to run out of money if we don't do something soon. So for us, we decided instead of, the contrary idea would have been to raise our prices to compensate for smaller districts buying Intertwine or smaller amount of districts buying Intertwine. We went the opposite way. We decided we're going to do a volume play here. It may or may not work, but we're going to reduce our prices by two-thirds. Our prices ended up being a third of what they usually were. And we ran that Stronger Together promotion to say, hey, we understand your situation and these federal funding and these state funding cuts. We're here to stand with you as a company and as a mission-driven organization. We are truly driven by our impact. So that was actually when we switched to the freemium model. We offered a few of our simulations in that free tier, said, hey, just use this for free for a year. You don't owe us anything. We know that you still need to meet your mandates and your budgets are in question. We're just here to support you. And when you're ready to have those budget conversations, we're there. So 2026 ended up being, so far, being a great year for us on the revenue front. We are a for-profit, so we do still do want to generate revenue and achieve profitability. But for us, impact has always been front top of mind, and truly being there with the teachers that did help accelerate our word of mouth and our continuing growth. So we went from, I believe, 14 districts in the spring of 2025 to now over 230. We just ran a pilot with the school in LAUSD. We work with a lot of rural and suburban districts as well. We just started getting to New York public schools as well. So word of mouth has been incredibly powerful. And we're always here to remind everyone we are impact focused first, and we're here with our teachers. And so when we ran that promotion, that was, from my standpoint, really bold, betting on 2026 being our year. And so far, it has been working out.
Just like you said, things are going to work out. They work themselves out, which I love that. And congratulations on that. I think a lot of our listeners need to hear that, not only the educators and in CTE world, but also our younger listeners as well. So as we round out, number one, thank you so much for sharing your story. How can people connect with you and Intertwined?
If you want to Google Intertwine Finance, that's the best way you're going to find our website. You can see all the resources that we offer for free. You can go ahead and sign up for free today. No credit card required, just your email, create a password, and boom, you're in. You can access our free resources immediately. You're always welcome to book a call with one of our team members as well if you want to explore additional resources for you, your classroom, or your fellow teachers. Personally, I'm most accessible on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is where I post a lot of company updates, follow the journey or the story of being a student entrepreneur. That's where I post updates. So yeah, those are our two main channels.
Love that. Alli, throughout this summer series, we've heard a lot of students talk about discovering themselves through work-based learning, relationships, the entrepreneurship, creativity, and all these professional experiences. And Kerry, you really reminded us of something else, that sometimes purpose doesn't always come in a perfectly mapped out plan. But sometimes when you're curious enough to notice a problem and courageous enough to believe, hey, you might be able the person to solve that. It actually, we often ask students, what do they want to become? But I think the better question, which we kind of said at the beginning of this whole series, Alli, is what problem are you willing to dedicate yourself to solving? Because that's really where purpose turns into impact, and where, well, Kerry, you stop waiting and you start creating it. So again, thank you so much for sharing your story. We'll have all the links to Intertwined, your LinkedIn, as well in the show notes. But we appreciate you taking time out of your extremely busy schedule to talk with us today.
No, appreciate you, Peter. Appreciate you, Alli, as well, for fitting me in. And just always happy to chat about Intertwine, about financial education or education as a whole. So really appreciate your time here today.
I've already got some business educator friends and colleagues that I will be passing this along to. So for Alli Dahl, I'm Peter Hostrawser. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. Check out disrupteducationpodcast.com. And we are just killing it with the summer series. Don't forget to get that notebook, right? We always want somebody to get that notebook and take some notes, because that's what we do while we look down on the podcast. But thank you guys so much. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for tuning in to the Disrupt Education podcast. If this episode sparked an idea, challenged your thinking, or helped you see education differently, well, that's exactly why we're here. We're highlighting real stories and bold ideas shaping the future of learning. A quick thank you to our sponsor, UScience BrightPath, the next generation platform helping students make personalized decisions as they move from education to career. If you're serious about connecting students to real opportunity, head to uscience.com/disrupteducation-podcast. Request a demo and let them know you heard about UScience right here on the Disrupt Education podcast. For more episodes and clips and ways to connect, you can always visit disrupteducationpodcast.com I'm Peter Hostrawser. Keep disrupting. We'll see you next time on the podcast.